Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show with Aditya. A half an hour show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in association with Dusra.net, the number one website. This is episode 110 on the 9th of September 2019. Welcome to part 1 of this episode. Legend, invincible, genius, dawn of a new era. These are the adjectives being used for Australian player Steve Smith. If you remember, this is the same Steve Smith who a year ago was in the docks for the ball tampering incident, and the question being asked were, how will he make it back to the team? Will this spoil the Australian culture which they have worked hard to repair? And how will he adjust with the other players? Well, at this point of time, those transgressions seem to have been forgotten as Australia has won the Ashes. They may not have won the World Cup, but they have made up for it by winning the Ashes, and the wrecker in chief, the hero for them, has been the former captain in Steve Smith. Steve Smith may never become the captain, as in the official position of a captain, but whoever will be the captain of the Australian team will always look to Steve Smith to give them some advice, and this is what Tim Paine has done. If you remember, Tim Paine was not even part of the team for 7 years until he was brought back when Australia ran out of options as far as wicket keepers are concerned. And then after the ball tampering incident, he was made the captain. He was tasked to do the repair job as far as the Australian culture is concerned. And by the looks of it, all seems to have been forgiven after Australia won the Ashes, and Steve Smith played a major part in it. And this same Steve Smith, who was the villain from March 2018 till March 2019, now is the hero. And Tim Paine might have just sealed his legacy in the books of Australian victories as far as the Ashes is concerned, because for teams like England and Australia, winning the Ashes becomes more important than winning the World Cup. After the heartbreak of the third Test match, where Ben Stokes stole the match from under the very eyes of Australia, in the fourth match, it looked as if Australia had come with a plan, and the plan worked to perfection because England was chasing a similar target. They were in the third match, they were chasing around 360, and in this match, the fourth match, they were chasing around 380 runs. But the Australian fast bowling trio of the best ever in an Australian team of Stark, Cummins, and Hazelwood did not allow the England batters a deja vu moment, as they had planned better for this particular match. And now Tim Paine's captaincy was hailed as genius. We all know that Steve Smith's comparison with Don Bradman have been going on for a while, and now he is hailed as the second best batter, only next to Don Bradman in terms of scoring centuries as well as the average. He now has the best average by a batter, as Bradman had an average of 99.9 and Steve Smith has an average of 65 runs. What is even more special in this particular Ashes tournament is that he returned in the fourth match after missing the third one due to a concussion, and most expected that he would not be able to score runs in the same vein as he did for the first two matches. But he shocked all his detractors as well as his fans by scoring runs at a rapid pace with a double century in the first innings, which took the Australian total to almost 500 runs. After getting a lead of nearly 200 runs, Australia were 44 for 4, and one thought that England had a chance if they could have bowled Australia between 100 and 120, as they could have chased that target. But Steve Smith had other plans. He combined with his other partners and then took the Australian total to 186, means Australia had a lead of 380 and England had a target of 383. But England could not repeat the heroics of the third match, as England's captain Joe Root did not contribute in this match, and the hero of the third match, Ben Stokes, also failed to repeat his heroics, which meant that Australia's chances of winning this match had exponentially increased by more than 200%. The way we have described Steve Smith, the adjectives we have given him, it only shows that how this particular sport, cricket, is an individual sport. Even if he had not scored runs, then somebody else would have taken the mantle. And now the questions arise: how do you stop Smith in the test matches, and how do you stop a Kohli in the one day matches? People are going to start comparing a Virat Kohli and a Steve Smith because Kohli did not score a century in the West Indies series despite getting starts, while they will hail a Steve Smith because he scored 300s including a double hundred. Just like once upon a time we used to compare a Dravid, a Ponting, a Tendulkar, a Lakshman, Lara, we are in a similar phase right now, as now we compare a Steve Smith, a Virat Kohli, a David Warner, a Rahane, a Pujara, a Kusal Mendes from Sri Lanka, a Babar Azam from Pakistan, Shea Hope and Darren Bravo from the West Indies, Quinton de Kock and Aiden Markram from South Africa, and many more. We can even add a Marnus Labuschagne to the list of greats. This means we are caught in the same whirlpool. So let's see what happens. If it's Steve Smith who has been called a legend, a don, invincible, and a genius in this particular sport called cricket, then he is not the only one who has been given such a nomenclature. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo have also been showered with such adjectives. In tennis, we cannot go beyond a Rafael Nadal, a Djokovic, a Roger Federer. We call this individuals giants among men as far as the sport of tennis is concerned. Then there is this habit to focus on their age. These three players are in that age group between 30 and 38. So it means that they are in the fag end of their respective careers, and the sport of tennis hasn't found alternatives for these three, means there are not too many 19-year-olds who would take the mantle after these individuals call it a day. In the same sport, when it comes to the women's division, we cannot think beyond a Serena or a Venus Williams. Though luckily we may have found a new star, if that's how we go about describing this particular individual. Bianca Andreescu from Canada, a 19-year-old, broke a record when she defeated a Serena Williams to win her first Grand Slam major. And once again, we focus on her age. She is 19, so she becomes the first one to win from this millennium. The last one was Serena Williams, who won in the last millennium at the age of 19. By having a narrow focus on only these three or four individuals, sets a dangerous precedent that unless you win a major Grand Slam, that is one of these French Open, US Open, and other tournaments like the Wimbledon, and even if you have the potential, unless you win, you will not be given a recognition. It's a matter of shame that we judge a player by the number of titles they have won means an Indian tennis player, irrespective of whether they are a male or a female, has been left in the lurch. And even if they don't qualify and they lose at an earlier stage, why can't we talk more about an Indian tennis player? Wins alone and collecting medals and titles don't make you great. We presume that all these individuals are nice individuals, but we don't know that. We haven't seen them outside the court. So we cannot presume that all these greats are nice, understanding individuals. That's a pure speculation if we do that. In the same way, we have speculated for decades that a Rahul Dravid is a nice guy because he did not throw any tantrums on the field or towards the media and other stakeholders. We all know that the locker room environment, especially in these sports, is off camera, and it is a possibility that people like Rahul Dravid and currently Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and the others have their share of disagreements. But what happens in the locker room should remain in the locker room as long as they come out and perform up to the best of their expectations and even feign being nice. That's good enough for the individuals who watch, and the rest is inconsequential. Middle order muddle, the term that was used to describe Indian batting during the World Cup and before that. And for a while, this particular discussion had died down, has come up again thanks to the new batting coach. In this effort to impress the media and to be more transparent, the batting coach may have played into the hands of the media by admitting that there is a middle order muddle and there is a opening order headache as far as the Indian batting is concerned. Even if these are the primary concerns of the team management and especially the batting coach, this was meant to be a private discussion in the locker room between the batting coach and the players. Admitting this in public might make the media more bold, as they might have found a patsy in the particular batting coach. Even if the team is facing a few challenges in certain areas, you are supposed to keep it locked inside the locker room, and when you go out to the media, all you're supposed to say is, we have a few challenges, we are working on the same, and we will come out with a solution, instead of just going blatantly and announcing that yes, what the media has been saying for the past couple of years is true. Nobody wants to hear that. Now that the batting coach has admitted such a problem, the media will keep a close watch on the same. And if the batting order fails again, then the first person to take the fall will be the batting coach and not the players. And whatever their personal discussion is or whatever the plans of the team are, a few things are supposed to remain in the vault. In the same way, we all understand that for Australia, a David Warner has not performed up to expectations, but you will never see them admit that yes, David Warner is not performing. They know what they have to do. They will talk with him personally. They will ask him that if you face certain problems against certain bowlers, this is how you can adjust your technique, but it will never come out in the open. So for me, this admittance is nothing more than a faux pas. and a PR nightmare for the future. And this is a lesson not just for this particular sport, cricket, and for other sports, but in every field. Yes, every organization in every field will have certain challenges, but when they come out publicly and address the media and address the people through the media, they will say that we are working on solutions. We have talked to the respective people in this regard, and you will see changes as the time goes on. And even if you want to admit there is a problem, there are subtle ways to say the same and not say it directly, because directly saying it only puts you in the doghouse if what you have admitted is not rectified. And such statements won't win him any fans in the future inside the locker room and in between the players. For a coach or a specialized position coach like a batting coach or a bowling coach, there are no favorites. You cannot single out players and say that this particular player has done well. For the batting coach, everybody is equal, and if anybody has some technique to be corrected, you are supposed to do that during the time you are off camera. For me, this was not the ideal start one would have expected from a batting coach. Whether Shreyas Iyer plays at number 4 or Rishabh Pant or Manish Pandey or Rahul, that's for the team to decide, and the spectators don't look for such specifics when they go and watch a match. They want their team to win irrespective of whether a Rishabh Pant scores, a Virat Kohli scores, or a Shreyas Iyer scores. The batting position is a personal discussion and doesn't have to come out openly all the time. While the media does play its role in influencing the sport as a whole, but specifics like batting position are the sole discretion of the coach and the team management and cannot be the diktat of what the media wants. So we have to be careful when coming out with such statements. Which team between India and South Africa will have the last laugh when they start their T20 tournament this Sunday? We all know that MS Dhoni is not part of the squad, means he is not part of the plans, which is fine. So a few younger people will get their chance to seal their position for the 20 over World Cups, means that next year's T20 domestic championship will become more important. In fact, every 20 over domestic championship of all countries will come into focus as these tournaments become an auditioning stage for players to seal the position for the 220 over World Cup. It means the CPL, the Caribbean Premier League, the PSL, the Pakistan Super League, the Australian Premier League in the BBL, even the South African T20 tournament, along with the Indian T20 domestic tournament, will allow the selectors to see as to who are the players fit to play in that 20 over World Cup. While even the international T20 domestic championships will influence the selectors' final decisions. For a team like South Africa, it's a fresh start as they want to close the chapter of the 50 over World Cup and see this domestic T20 championships and international T20 matches as a new lease of life for the team. Following the football style, they have appointed a manager for the team as well as a new captain in Quinton de Kock. The players will look to use the experience of playing in the T20 domestic championship and perform well. For me, both the teams are at an equal level. While the match starts this Sunday, we will keep discussing about it in the episodes leading up to this match. Thank you for listening to part 1 of this episode. Stay tuned for part 2. Welcome to part 2 of episode 110. If consumption of alcohol was not enough, now consumption of soft drinks, whether sweetened with sugar or artificial sweeteners, may be associated with an increased risk of premature death. We have already categorized these soft drinks or carbonated drinks in the zone of junk food. It means that pizzas, burgers, bagels, donuts find themselves out of contention because they contain a lot of sugar as well as salt, and we know salt and sugar combined is a deadly weapon. When we say soft drinks, do we only mean the colas, that is the Pepsi, the Miranda, the Sprite, etc., or do we also mean, and this is an India centric situation, as we know there are a lot of juice sellers who sell juice. Are they not equally detrimental to your health? They are made in even more unhygienic condition. I would even label Indian junk food snacks such as vada pav, golgappa are equally detrimental to your health. In fact, even add samosa to this. Samosa also has high processed fat and a lot of carbohydrates. If we are saying no to pastries and bagels, then we should also, in a sensible mind, without getting into Eastern versus Western food emotionality, say no to a rasgulla, barfi, and a laddu as well. And when we say soft drinks, do we include lemonade as well? And do we start shunning every packaged soft drink that is found in the market? And they are not just limited to the colas and the Pepsis and the Coca-Colas. If this is the case and we stop consuming alcohol and these carbonated drinks, then the only drink that is left to consume is water by default. And there also is the debate between tap water and the RO water, which is more pure, which is good for your health. So is there any food that is good for your health? We come up with these studies which talk about the detrimental health of a particular food or drink, or we come up with studies where we say that consuming veg or non-veg alone is not the solution to your health. If nothing on the planet is good for our health as far as consuming food, products and drinks is concerned, then why don't we just go on an indefinite fast? Because the only common factor in all these studies is possible negative effects such as stroke and heart disease. I have never once come across a positive study, because that is how human psychology works. We as humans want to be told, don't consume this, don't consume that, don't eat this, don't eat that, and this grabs our attention more than somebody telling us eat only this or consume only this product because it is good for your health. But when we read or listen to a study or such news reports where we are told that consumption of such products can lead to problems or death eventually, this kind of news report grabs our eyeballs and our attention. And that is how the human psychology works and how we exploit it. And there is not one single regret in the same. And it's not just about consuming solid products, it's also about consuming abstract things like news or watching a TV show. Don't watch TV for too long, as it can affect your mental and physical health. That's all we hear all the time. This shows how gullible humans are, and we easily fall prey to such assumptions and studies. The regional imbalance also plays an important role. It means that if a burger is not good, then the alternative is samosa. If a bagel or a donut is not good, then the alternative is a rasgulla. For me, both of them are equally bad. A regional factor of where the food comes from cannot influence your decision making as far as consuming that food product or the abstract news product is concerned. But if humans were this discreet and this smart, then life would have been not so complicated. The fact that humans are fickle and gullible means that the complications that emerge from this allow the content creators to exploit this human weakness. Facebook, which has become an intrinsic part of our life for the past 15 years, has now ventured to exploit another human weakness after food, that is, one's affection for the other, or as we like to call it, love. If other dating sites were not enough as it is in the paradigm of dating and matchmaking, and we know what is the effect of such dating sites on us, Facebook has gone one step further to exploit this human tendency to look for someone, and their aim is to build meaningful long-term relationships, which is an irony as far as Facebook is concerned. We have already heard of fictitious profiles on this particular application where an individual, taking advantage of the anonymity provided by Facebook, look to troll and abuse others. So how do we know that this dating and matchmaking service which is being provided will not be an extension of the same? And through such features, they are trying to put an idea into us that we are all looking for someone and we all need someone. So they're exploiting the so-called lonely hearts to look for someone on such digital platforms, with applications like Tinder already exploiting this particular service. Facebook has joined that bandwagon and they don't want to be left behind. This will lure individuals because this will be the easiest way to find someone without going through the effort of all that fiction we see in movies and TV shows, which includes stalking and whatnot. So this will become a sort of digital stalking, but here the other person can obviously block you. So yes, it could be safe in some points, but it will have a negative impact very soon. So even if 1,000 people are lured, that might just put other dating sites out of contention, as it will have an established application or a platform which people trust, even though the trust is one way, as the job well done. When we use the word skill, what do we mean by it? Is the country's problem of unemployment directly related to individuals not being skilled enough in specific fields, or are we limiting this field only to IT industry? Well, when we say skilled individuals in the IT industry. So what does that do to individuals trained in other professions? Other professions that does not include management, IT and the medical profession, because apart from these fields, we do not give importance to individuals who have trained in other fields. We assume that if you are not employed, then your training received is not enough or of a very poor level. This assumption is highly flawed. An author who is writing a book may not be employed in the definition of being employed, but this individual has a skill because they are writing a book which comes in the domain of research work which goes beyond our preferred fields of IT, law, management and medical. One doesn't have to be salaried to be employed, and one doesn't have to be skilled to be a salaried employee, because if that's how the idea of the job comes to us, then we need to relook at how we look at employment. If we are skilling ourselves to get a job, then this theory is also flawed. If we don't get a job because individuals with certain fixed mindset think that a training is not good enough, then we need to change this thought process as well. There is no obligation for an individual to get a job after they are trained in a particular subject, and nor do we need to be placed after we graduate from college. The whole idea of college placement, I find it to be highly irregular, and it seems forced, because the only reason we go to college is because we are going to find a job, and this kind of thought process can often put us in a negative state of mind. And we need to resolve this imbalance that we have between different professions first. An engineer who is designing a car or a road or whatever their particular field is cannot be seen more superior to an individual, let's say an author who is writing a book, or the creator of a TV, or the script writer of a movie, unless we tend to this imbalance that we have created of our own violation and for our own personal reasons. We cannot understand the idea of what is skill, what is employment, and what is a job. It is a matter of shame that we are only proud of universities which end with the word technology, management, or medical sciences. That is the business schools, the engineering schools, and the medical schools. And now, up to some extent, even law schools are becoming a part of this trend. Creating such groups only puts an individual fresh out of school as a graduate in a dilemma. We need to first demolish this imbalance completely and have every profession at par with the other. It basically means an engineer, a doctor, a business magnate, or a business tycoon, or a lawyer cannot be more or have superior skills than, let's say, a writer and those individuals involved in broadcasting. Till then, the idea, the definition of being skilled will always remain a vague point. Numbers don't make up or don't define the number of individuals skilled. Not everyone will be skilled in that particular subject or have some kind of a vocational training, unless we stop comparing ourselves to other countries in this regard. Those statistics will remain what they were meant to be, just a number and nothing of significance. Thank you for listening to part 2 of this episode. This brings an end to episode number 110, the Monday Morning Blues. Please send your valuable suggestions through your comments and audio recording to the email ID adityatheeditor@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe to my Facebook page and YouTube channel, and stay tuned for the next episode.